Okay, so now we're just going to touch on a bit of general advice across the board really for November and what you can be doing. You've brought me down here to the fruit trees, Keith, so I'm assuming there's something we've got to do with fruit trees this month.
Yes, plant them, Matthew, plant them. We talked about planting other things, but this is a great time to plant fruit trees and soft fruit. So you see behind us there's plenty of apples ready to go in. We just had a delivery of soft fruit, including raspberry canes. They need to be planted from November through to February really, because they are essentially bare root plants, the raspberries. So it's a time to extend the fruit bed or replace older fruit bushes that are not producing very well. And it's also coming to the time for planting bare root hedging. We normally get ours in the second week of November, so we're approaching that, and this is the time really to prepare the ground, forking it over, getting some organic matter in, and if you do that, it's a lot easier to plant when you can get the plant. So bare root hedging, preparation in the first half of the month, and planting in the second half.
November really generally is a month for a bit of a tidy up, isn't it, as we mentioned earlier in some of the other videos. It's not only sort of the grassy areas where you've got all the leaves that need raking up, and as you said before, you can use those leaves, but also if you've got a driveway or a pathway, it starts to become a little slippy underfoot now. So is there anything we can put down on those areas to sort of get rid of that?
Yeah, we've got a couple of products that people have tried and keep coming back for. One's called Algon, a reasonable name for it, and it's very easy. You don't need to brush it in, it's just a matter of putting it on dilute from the watering can, and it acts over a period of a few weeks and just kills the algae and makes the paths much safer to use through the winter. It can get quite dangerous, as you say, so it is worth doing.
And I mentioned then lawns. People are still cutting the lawns, but obviously at a higher sort of height now.
Yeah, because it's been so mild, the lawn keeps growing, so you do need to keep cutting, but only on days where the lawn isn't saturated. Through the winter, if you can, it's best to keep off lawns, just to let them rest and stop them being compacted. But obviously, if the weather's reasonable and it needs a cut, you've got to get onto it. November, you could still lay turf. It's so mild at the moment that that's certainly the case. When the weather starts getting colder, then that really ends for this year, and you have to wait until kind of April next year. So turf laying is a possibility. It's too late for sowing. The grass won't germinate now. But there are quite a few things to do with the lawn, and as we said the last couple of months, if you haven't already done it, then scarifying and aerating and putting an autumn feed on is still all possible in November.
That's brilliant. Okay, so we'll just move on now and just talk a little bit about people's ponds. Is there anything they should be doing this time of year?
Well, the leaf is the great problem, so either netting the whole thing or every few days getting a fishing net out and
scooping it off.
Yeah, you can't stop them all being in the pond, and in fact some's quite good for wildlife, but you don't want too many leaves, so get as many out as you can. And then some people that they take their pond filters and pumps out at this time of year, give them a good clean, put them away for the winter. Other people like to keep their pumps running through the winter. A lot depends on whether you've got expensive fish, I think, in the pond. So that's the time when people are thinking about either removing or cleaning, because they do gather a lot of muck, these filters. That's what they're there for.
That's great. And just to finish now, anything for the birds this month? What can we be doing? Obviously feeding is key this month.
Yeah, they're building up their reserves now for winter, so we need to keep feeding, and perhaps feeding a little bit more, and high energy food as well. And what we said last time, make sure that your feeders are nice and clean. You don't want to be feeding the birds and at the same time passing on diseases through dirty feeders, and water. And the time will come, maybe later this month, where you'll need to make sure that the water's not frozen. So, clean water is important.
And it's not only the birds that are about the garden, but there are hedgehogs as well looking for a bit of food. So there is feed you can get for hedgehogs, and it's nice actually to see a hedgehog go past the window.
Particularly if they're youngsters, they really need feeding up at this time of year in order to hibernate and get through the winter safely. So if you see a lot of young hedgehogs, start feeding them.
Well, that's brilliant.
But not bread and milk. That doesn't do them any good, I hear. So cat food's a favourite, isn't it? But there are special hedgehog foods on the market these days, yes.
That's brilliant. Well, thanks very much, Keith.